Hey guys, and welcome to Q&A on Coin Bureau Clips. I'm Nick, and I'm here with Jessica, my long-lost sister from yonder.
So How good you doing? To see you, Nick. How's it going?
It's been a long time, right?
It's been
generations,
so long.
right? You know, I need to do some Ancestry.com to see if we at all related down my British heritage tree.
We saw the comments.
Yeah.
I was back in the UK for 1 week. I tune into your Q&A with Guy, and I see, are they related? And I was like, brilliant. I can't even escape you guys when I'm not on the video.
So unfortunately, Guy's not here because I don't know who's in Dubai right now, but it rained like hell last night. And when it rains in Dubai, it rains a lot. It doesn't rain often, but when it does, it's heavy. So he couldn't come in, unfortunately. And he also took a look at the markets and was a bit down and thought he didn't feel like coming in. So doctors just prescribed some green candles and you'll be okay.
And he'll be back on Monday, guys, back and better than ever.
But, you know, be that as it may, you know, today is obviously Q&A and without delay, we're going to answer your questions. As you know, the MO, if you go down below, we've got the Instagram, coin.bureau. Every week, about halfway through the week, we ask you guys to submit your questions. And at the end of the week, we go through all the questions and take it from there. So you can find it down below. If you're enjoying these, please do like and subscribe. And without further delay, let's kick off with the first question.
The questions were good this week.
They're very good. A lot of questions. Yeah. It's hard to pick them, but we've got a few. So this one's actually two questions, and at the opposite ends of the coin, the opposite ends of the crypto coin. So one is from Salimus Maximus. That's a cool name.
That is a cool handle.
Wen Crash. And then the other is from the Drice, and it asks Wen Moon.
Oh, okay. So this is a good one. I think people are kind of on the cusp right now of wondering where the markets are going to go next. I'm also curious to get your prediction too. I think if we look at the markets right now, the entire kind of rally that started in October and has led through into, we're in mid-November now, has been mainly speculation of a spot Bitcoin ETF coming through. And that's really got people super hyped for the markets. That being said, though, I think we do have some really good fundamentals and data that are standing the test that the industry is still growing and does have a good long way in when it comes to duration of standing the next kind of few months. So I personally don't see a crash happening anytime soon. I think the next 6 months are going to be a very interesting one for more people entering into the space and more acquisition of people entering into crypto. I mean, we've seen some big news from Tether. So for example, like Tether's highest whale activity and volume this week since the start of the Bitcoin bull market rally in October. Over 40,000 transactions that are valued at over $100,000.
Wow.
Isn't that a really significant...
It's crazy.
Yeah, first time in 8 months they've seen those figures from Tether. So that's from Santiment.net, which is a data aggregation platform. And I thought that was one that kind of really stood out. Polynex, the crypto exchange, resumed after a $125 million exploit. So that was something that happened last week. Yeah. They've resumed now trading. And normally when you do see a hack of this magnitude to a fairly significant exchange, you do see some impact on the markets and on the price. And I think we didn't really see any impact of any hacks or any kind of compromises impacted the price in a negative way. So for me, I'm pretty optimistic that we're kind of onwards and upwards from here. What's your take?
So, yeah, I mean, I suppose the question when crash should be if crash, because there are still, I think that obviously that's the point, yes, the ETF narrative is the big one, and that's what the market has been priced in. And ETFs in potentially, well, there was the potential for it today, which is the final end of this non-comment period, but then the next timeline to look for it is to January. So the obvious answer there is that if, for whatever reason, the SEC decides we're not going to approve these ETFs, then the markets will crash. I think that because it's been priced in already in terms of probabilities, they were saying it's about a 90% chance of the ETFs being approved in January or if not March. So if there is, the applications are denied, then the market will crash. There are other potential tail risks out there, talking about potential exchanges and all these other FUD that usually flies around. Yes, those are tail risks. And if they occur, which is a very low probability, then the markets will crash. Yeah. So that's a possibility. then in terms of Wen Moon, but I think that's the more likely option. What's going to happen is because obviously as we roll into the ETFs, you're going to have not just the narrative itself that has been driving this excitement around the ETFs, but also what happens out of the ETF launch, right? Because it's completely changing the Bitcoin market structure. There'll be a lot more opportunity for people to be able to invest, large institutions, and they'll do that over an extended period of time. It's not going to just be all in at once. They'll take some time to, allocate their capital, to adjust their funds, and to speak with their portfolio managers. Similarly, on the retail buyers who want to come into the ETFs, it will take some time. So out of the ETF launch, there will still be a lot of buying that will potentially drop the price. Then we must not forget, of course, got the halving, April. And then right out of the halving, obviously the halving is a seminal event in Bitcoin's market cycle. It obviously impacts on supply, and generally it's price positive in terms of historical norms. And then right after that, in May, there's the potential for a pivot. So there's about a 60% chance that we, in terms of the Fed futures, we could see a pivot in interest rates in May, right? And obviously that's positive for the markets. That's why the stock markets have been rallying this week. We had lower CPI numbers. So then the global macro environment could look a lot more positive. So you've got all these factors that could potentially impact on Bitcoin. So I think Wen Moon, after the halving and after potential pivots, we could start, an extended bull rally, a bull market that's going to drive crypto higher. So I think Wen Moon, potentially Q2, Q3 next year, like when extended rallies, obviously the price will increase, but we're talking like the start of a new exciting bull market, and also for crypto more broadly, like altcoins. But when crash, I'm more like if crash.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with you. And I also think as well, even if the spot Bitcoin ETF news is a sell the event kind of situation, and we have already seen the price capacity of it, as you've mentioned, we are already in such a strong market environment. Then with the halving, the if prices maintain, until then, we're still in a pretty good stead.
Yeah, exactly. So it's priced in well, and I think that not too much to worry about the when crash scenario.
Fingers crossed, though. You never know in this beautiful industry. Touch wood. Okay, so I have one from you, from Sebi Dasu. If, let's say, Binance would collapse like FTX, Trust Wallet would go down as well.
No, it actually wouldn't. I think so. It's important. So we've talked about Trust Wallet a few times on a number of different videos. It's a very popular mobile wallet. It was purchased by Binance in 2018. It's a non-custodial wallet, fully open source, which therefore means that no matter what happens to Binance, first of all, Binance is still a separate, they own it, but Trust Wallet is run by a separate team. If Binance goes under, you still hold your private keys. It's a non-custodial, it's fully open source. You can also verify the code, and you'll still be able to send your coins. You'll still be able to regenerate your wallets. So there is absolutely no risk of you losing your coins on Trust Wallet per se. Also, I would mention that Binance has just recently launched a Web3 wallet that uses Trust Wallet's wallet as a service. So it's pretty cool. They utilize Trust Wallet's technology to offer traditional financial institutions and CeFi giants the option to have non-custodial technology for their users. So, and I think that's an important step now for centralized exchanges. They realize that users want to be able to control their own keys. And this is the first step, and OKX has done it, Coinbase has done it, and now Binance. So that assuages many users, and it also allows them to be able to easily interact with the CeFi, the SEXs on the one hand, and fiat rails, and then also to be able to do all their DeFi activities in a non-custodial wallet. So it's an easy off-ramp from the centralized exchange fiat world into the DeFi wonders we enjoy. So yeah.
I've used Trust Wallet. I haven't used Binance Web3 Wallet yet. Have you tried it?
I haven't. No. I mean, it looks interesting. I mean, I have to try it out because I think it's probably just going to be Trust Wallet wrapped in some sort of like branding or whatnot. But it's definitely worth trying. I think that it's like I say, it'll be an easy way for people to access Web3 from Binance. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you folks, but I have to let you know about the Coin Bureau deals page. My team and I have been able to pull together some of the best promos and discounts in the whole crypto space. We're talking trading fee discounts of over 50%, thousands of dollars in bonus airdrops, amazing deals at top exchanges, reduced prices on hardware wallets, and much, much more besides. So just go to coinbureau.com/deals, also linked to below, and find the promo suited to you. Enjoy the rest of the video.
So this is an interesting question from Matt Wayhay, and I say it's interesting because he's asking who's Amanda, and it's weird because like this Amanda Walker girl followed me on Instagram a few days ago, and she was offering to triple my Bitcoin if I sent her some Bitcoin, and I was like, okay, well, this sounds like an amazing offer, but she does look a little bit familiar though, so I was like, maybe I should be a bit skeptical of this Amanda. Who's Amanda? Who's Amanda Walker?
I did not get this memo, so I opened the document that you sent and I was like, who is Amanda? What is this question? And then you were like, oh, there's a fake account of you going around.
Yep.
So in crypto, if you are new and you have not already noticed, you will probably also see fake accounts of guys circulating and maybe some other crypto YouTubers in the space. There is very known scams where people will phish all of the images from Coin Bureau sites, from personal accounts, and they will replicate these Twitter accounts on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everything. They'll reach out to you and ask you to join an investment strategy or to send some money to help you recover some funds. And unfortunately, some of the scams and the communications can be really plausible. And people unfortunately do fall victim to them. I've recently got the rounds of people on Facebook. So it's Facebook for me personally is used with like my mum and my mum's friends. And they are all messaging me like, Jess, you were messaging me at 1 o'clock in the morning asking how my trading was going.
Yeah, but you know you've made it in crypto if you've got fake accounts basically trying to impersonate you, selling people coins.
Yeah.
Guy has had the amount of fake Guy accounts out there and the amount of people that have actually fallen for these.
Yeah,
We've had to deal with quite a few people who have like angrily written in. Like one time we had some guy who spammed all of our LinkedIn, employees being like, I'm going to report Guy to the Better Business Bureau. He scammed me of my Dogecoin and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, really, dude? Seriously?
Yeah.
Even though all the warnings and everything, I mean.
But what they'll do is they'll also observe how you interact on social media. So how you write, how you type, and then they will try and format their conversations in a similar way. So what I had recently was someone had messaged me to say, hey, I'd given a fake you some money. I'm now speaking to you and you're telling me if I give you money, you'll help me get the money back. But now I've just seen this account. Is this a real account? And I'm like, please just don't send anyone any money. And he was like, well, can you send me a voice note so I know that it's you? And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that because what if you're a scam account phishing for a voice note verifying this is my only account just to pass it on. So just please be so careful. I think verification ticks help make you aware of who you're really speaking to. Even then, there is still loopholes in this. So just do not interact on direct message. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And be careful out there. Maybe pass the message on to other people that might not be as crypto savvy as you too.
If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you now when it comes to, from VCE Vic77, Avax, future.
Well, I mean, I think, obviously Avalanche, like a lot of layer ones, has been done crazily well over the past, week to especially month. So I obviously hold Avalanche in my personal portfolio, so full disclosure, and I think that it's got an exciting future for sure. I think that part of the narrative around Avalanche right now is, for one, I think that there's a lot of demand and interest in building on Avalanche subnets. So, for example, most recently, I think 2 to 3 days ago, there was the announcement by JP Morgan's Onyx, which is their proprietary blockchain platform.
Okay.
It would be utilizing a Avalanche subnet to be able to allow people and to TradFi people to access tokenized assets on Wisdom Tree.
Yeah.
And they're building this subnet on the Avalanche subnet. And then that's obviously a proof of concept that they're doing with the Ministry of Singapore. Ministry of Finance in Singapore, and that will obviously, the more demand there is from traditional finance to use these subnets, obviously the more demand to utilize Avalanche ecosystem. And then there's also around the GameFi narrative. There's quite a few popular games that are built on subnets, Avalanche subnets. One of them there's like Dixalot and DFK, and one of them more recently that's actually launched that's doing crazily well in terms of an exciting GameFi project is Shrapnel. And I actually spoke to some members of the team, and the blockchain architecture behind Shrapnel's crazy, and the game itself is really interesting. So there's this game that's been built on Avalanche as a subnet, and this will obviously create demand for Avax and Avalanche in general, because obviously you need to be able to stake to run a subnet. Staking requires locking up Avax.
I think you've spoke about this before. It's very Call of Duty looking, the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's great. It's a first-person shooter. Have you seen it's really, really cool. I think that, this is the narrative we have with GameFi. I think Guy's very bullish on GameFi, but I think that the games that are able to, actually get the gaming natives on are able to will be able to crack that nut and actually make them interested within the crypto ecosystem. So, and obviously that will drive demand for Avalanche and Avax to be able to stake as a validator to run subnets. And then if the subnets themselves utilize Avax as gas, more demand for Avalanche as well. Beyond that, I think Avalanche has got a lot of network demand. We've gone from 79,000 wallets now, active daily wallets from 70K a year ago, 1.5 million transactions compared to 1 million a year ago. The technology is amazing as well. Obviously, it uses a DAG ecosystem, so it's parallelization instead of a blockchain, so it's a lot more performant and scalable.
Yeah.
And it's got this unique consensus mechanism, the Avalanche consensus mechanism. So. And also, we'll note that there's a 720 million Avax cap supply, and all Avax is burned, so that it's obviously price positive on the transaction fee side. And of course, there's been increased staking as well for the subnets, which increases decentralization, and that's obviously important for any sort of decentralized network. On the potential risks on Avax, I suppose there was the recent announcement about 7 days ago that they released, say, 12% of their staff, but it's probably just the tail end of the bear market. I don't think it should read too much into that. So that's my long Avax shill. Please pump my bags.
But there were some pretty big names in there. I think the JP Morgan ties at the beginning, I think that sounds pretty
and Apollo as well. Yeah. And there's a lot, and that's the thing, right? I think that if this proof of concept works, because it's a test and fails, then there's a lot of other traditional financial institutions that may potentially want to replicate it. And that's obviously massive demand for the subnets then. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm speaking to some of the Avalanche and AVA lab guys on email. So if anyone would be interested in us organizing an interview, let us know.
Yeah,
sounds like there's a lot
to
talk
about. Share this video, yeah, exactly. Cool. On to the next question now. Moving on to a layer 2 question. So this is from Glasses Jack, and he's asking, what's with this Matic Pump?
What is with the Matic Pump? So also as a disclosure, I do also hold some Matic in my bags. But I was having a little look into some of the partnerships and some of the news because we saw a really big uptick in awareness of Polygon in the past few days, and people were really talking about it. Obviously, we saw Polygon 2.0 upgrade, along with other things. You've mentioned there was a blog post that has come out on the Coin Bureau website. So for anyone that does want to deep dive into that, there's a lot of information there, so have a little look through. Over the last 30 days, Polygon experienced a 3,800% surge in transaction volume, which is just insane. And so according to Coinpedia, 84% of Polygon is being held by institutions and whales in the crypto market. Wow. So you can see that as kind of bullish, or you can look at that as kind of a little bit of a kind of concerning shift of power. That's completely up to you. But I thought that was a really, really interesting number. 84% is pretty significant.
Yeah. Do you know if they're using Polygon, like they're building on it, or it's just holding the token? Yeah,
so there's a lot of different kind of adoptions that are being put into play. And there's a few that really stood out for me that I'm going to run through you guys, just because I think it's interesting to know when we see these real world utilities, and we also see these organizations and companies that are not in the crypto space adopting these layer 2 solutions. So we have Grab, which is the ride-hailing app in Southeast Asia. They're introducing a Web3 wallet on Polygon for payment vouchers and collectibles, which is pretty interesting. As we know, Southeast Asia is a massive cryptocurrency adoption driver. They're very used to kind of payments within phones. So
Grab is massive. In countries in Southeast Asia, I know when we were in Singapore, it's like the Uber there everywhere.
Yeah, same. I was in Thailand for a few months, and it was the go-to that you would use every single day. So, and these are the kind of integrations that you do expect to see, where you don't necessarily know that it is an NFT or it is on a transaction, but you're just using something which makes it easier for you as a consumer. Another one, Lufthansa, which is the airline, Uptrip has launched, which is a loyalty program for the airline that rewards travelers with NFTs on the Polygon network, which sounds pretty interesting. What's even more interesting is you can trade these on a secondary marketplace, and Lufthansa themselves are building a secondary marketplace to be able to sell them. It's kind of like with Emirates, for those that are based in the UAE with Skyward points, but there's going to be more of a kind of collectible and like certificate element to it too.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting because it's always nice when you see build during a bear, these kind of things come into light from other organizations, because you can imagine trying to shill them to adopt this technology and then get it off the ground takes some work.
And that bridge from the Web 2 world into the Web 3, you know, that projects like Polygon are facilitating with these partnerships.
Yeah.
You know? And it's also not going to, because of Polygon is layer 2, it's not going to impact on like gas fees and stuff on the Ethereum main chain, and it's easier to transact, and it's a lot more of an easier user experience, I suppose, from the network perspective.
Yes, and the Lufthansa example, so they're rolling this out in smaller form rollouts, and they've currently got around 20,000 users, but this is still in the very early days of the announcement. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on when it comes to scalability. And also you have to kind of think about if one airline is doing it where it returns successfully, if they're building a marketplace and that's an extra revenue driver. I think we are seeing as well for like travel agencies and travel platforms, post-COVID, they do want to have additional revenue streams, and this could be something that they look into. And will other kind of companies and competitors follow suit? We'll have to wait and see.
Cool. I mean, I think also on the Polygon side, a lot of excitement is around Polygon 2.0 as well. It's this 4-year process where they're going to be completely changing the ecosystem and introducing a lot of this new technology, which is going to make it a lot more scalable. So leveraging ZK technology. Interoperable, so it can be easy to transfer liquidity from other protocols as well. And something else is customizability with these chain development kits, so it'll be easy for people to build on Polygon. And then, of course, the main benefits of security, leveraging the Ethereum blockchain. So that's what's being built right now. They're also going to migrate potentially to, or not potentially, they're going to migrate to a poll, change the name of the token, which kind of makes sense because Matic is a bit...
confusing.
Confusing, for many people. So that's a lot of exciting things to look at live for in Polygon and ecosystem. I think also you got to understand that the Matic supply is already out there, well, the future poll, so it's not going to lead to any more inflation. And it's going to be utilized within this entire new Polygon ecosystem that's going to incorporate it. And it's not just, you shouldn't think of it more than just like a layer 2. It's going to be an entire off-chain ecosystem. So, you know, I think that Polygon's like probably one of the most exciting layer 2s out there. I mean, there is competition from the likes of Arbitrum and stuff, but I think that coming back to the tokenomics perspective, I still think there's a lot of Arbitrum that could be in terms of inflation potentially. So, and potential risks, I don't think there's too many. I think it's obviously a big overhaul of the Polygon network. So that with completely untested technology. But I mean, you got to think big, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they were such a big narrative driver with the NFT boom in 2021 that I think from a scalability perspective, they seem to manage to kind of coast 2021 fairly smooth. Yeah.
Right. So it's 2 questions here. It's quite relevant for us locally here as well. And one is from Telkodaz, sorry. It asks, best exchange to use in Dubai. A lot of them don't accept AED or dirham transfers. And then a secondary question to this, which is kind of related, is from Mally Hansen 2018, and she asks, do you have any videos on M2?
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. And as you mentioned, we're both based here in Dubai, so we are kind of on the lookout for regulated exchanges. So I personally was using BitOasis, which is VARA regulated, and I still have the account open. There was some issues earlier this year where VARA had made a statement saying that they had halted the regulation because there were some things and some kind of due diligence checks that BitOasis needed to comply with. BitOasis received additional funding from India's Coin DCX, and it seems then that VARA had reapproved and re-given the thumbs up and go ahead. I've personally made AED deposits on BitOasis. At one point, they were halted for around 7 days, which I think is something to keep note for if you are looking to deposit. Our amazing camera woman, Zara, who's behind the screen, tried to sign up, and there were some limitations there. So just make sure if you are looking to go ahead into that. There is a new exchange, which is the second question, M2 Exchange, which is entering the market in the UAE. And interestingly, there's quite a lot of social media buzz and awareness about M2 Exchange. So there's quite a few articles online on the likes of Being Crypto. Kevin O'Leary has been tweeting about it as well, saying that it's a totally compliant exchange.
Yeah, not gonna make it.
I know.
That's the kiss of death there, no?
It's not the most tactful kind of choice of brand representative after he was so heavily affiliated with FTX. Regardless, Shark Tank entrepreneur, that's not to say.
Yeah.
So AD Global Market License, so it is Abu Dhabi license as an exchange.
That's a big one. Yeah. To get that license, it's a lot harder than the Vara one. Yeah.
Yes, I did sign up this week, and they are announcing their launches more towards the end of November, so we are going to give them a slight benefit of the doubt. But I did get an updating systems maintenance email this week, and the system had downtime of around 6 hours. So one thing that I would say is if you are in the UAE or any region actually, and you are looking to migrate into some new exchanges, make sure you do all of this before the next bull market movement. I would have reservations about signing up to a brand new exchange that has not experienced a bull market cycle yet, with high user transactions, high withdrawals, high KYC verifications, high customer support emails, and they're just not capable to experience such traffic at such early times. That's not to say they're not able to, but I think there is a lot to be said with the security that comes with knowing how teams can manage those risks. Because I was working in Bitpanda, which is an Austrian-based exchange in 2021. We just launched fractional stock, so you could buy Nike shares for €1, which was targeting retail, great. 2 weeks later, GameStop saga came out and everyone wanted to just go all in on stocks. The best marketing, perfect storm, but as a team, we were like, oh my goodness, everyone was working around the clock because we just were not expecting such a sudden uptick in users. It's a perfect nightmare in some ways. And you've been in crypto for a long time too, so you've also experienced the kind of roles of exchanges.
I was telling Jessica before the Q&A that back in the 2017 craze, there were so many people wanting to create accounts and get into crypto that all of the exchanges had to halt new deposit or new accounts. And this is the stage at which before they had mandatory KYC. And people were actually, there was a secondary market for selling Binance Bittrex accounts, and that's how much demand there was, and people were actually YOLOing it, like literally selling accounts for like $800 to $1,000, just a completely fresh new account on Binance. Crazy. And I think it's a good point in terms of like BitOasis. I also used them quite a few times. Never had an issue in terms of AED rails. It always comes quickly and easily, but I did get a bit scared about the Vara question. You say that they've opened up new accounts now again.
Yes, they have. And also I have to say their team is very responsive on email and also on WhatsApp if you are like a client. So I have to say that from that regard, their customer support in this market condition, I am acknowledging this is probably a quiet downtime for them. It has been strong. So from that side, I personally have no complaints, but these are just things that we've seen from local news.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm keen to try out M2 Exchange.
Yes.
Given that it was an earlier-ish pitch, I won't leave too many coins on the exchange.
Yeah, let's see.
No, I kid. I'm sure that, they seem definitely have a lot of big backing behind them, and, they talk about towns. So I'm keen to try them out, and, maybe we can also, speak to someone from the team or review them at some stage. It'd be interesting. And I'll definitely create an account when I find the time to do it. Because, it's good to have a local, quick and simple dirham on an off-ramp.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to skip to the injective question for you, if that's fine.
Okay, cool.
2 Peas in a Pod / Barnes has asked, thoughts on INJ? Haven't seen a vid for a while.
Yeah, we haven't done a main channel vid on that for quite some time. I've talked about injective a few times before in the Q&A and stuff. I do also hold some in my personal portfolio. It's obviously a really interesting project, originally developed as just a DEX, Cosmos-based DEX. I really like the narrative of being of being interoperable with a lot of different other chains for this cross-chain liquidity using the Cosmos IBC. I think that they've since evolved to become much more than just a DEX on a DeFi DEX. Like they're trying to create this new L1 for open finance, and their latest is the Helix Perp DEX. So it's trying to basically create a DEX that give you the experience of trading perpetual futures on traditional on SEX or centralized exchanges. So that's launched quite some time ago, and it's gaining a lot of traction. I think that Injective itself has a very passionate community as well. They guess what they call themselves?
Injectables.
No, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one, actually. You should have done the branding for Injective.
Marketing girly, what can I say? Go on, what is it?
No, the Injective Ninjas.
Oh.
Ninjas. Yeah, so it's like the Injective Ninjas. And you
Was
got
that what sold you? You were like,
yeah, I'm a ninja, man. I'm a ninja. Yeah, no, an Injective Ninja, I mean, what I would love to see is a battle between Injective Ninjas, XRP Army, Link Marines, Cosmonauts. What are the other networks? Algonauts as well. What are the,
Algonauts, yeah. Algonauts is another one.
What do these other community members call themselves? Like, fighting specialists.
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So the Injective Ninjas are a very powerful community. I think that if we get enough Injective Ninjas sharing this video, maybe we can review the video, review the project at some point. Again. Next question. That's one I'm going to say. This is a very important question, I think, because not too many people think about it. So it's a good question by Investing Rocket. And they ask, awareness of private keys and crypto, I assume crypto inheritance. How do you avoid all BTC being lost in a few generations?
Oh, so I've kind of gone down the kind of fairly morbid route to answer this, which is like how to pass on your crypto in case you think you could die. And the reason that I feel like I can answer this is because I was hiking in Nepal for 3 weeks earlier this year. I did like the Himalayas, and I was like, it's going to be really annoying if I die, but it's going to be even more annoying if I don't give my parents how to find my crypto.
They need to plan for a good funeral as well, of course.
If I'm going to go out, I want to go out in style. Like if I'm going out on a mountain, like at least... So I had to give them a little bit of a run through. I was very lucky that I persuaded my mum to get into crypto in 2018. So she's kind of fairly crypto savvy, and my dad is an accountant. So I was like, okay, from that side, I hope that it's okay. There's a few kind of things just to kind of debrief and unpack. First of all, I would say you have to give them a step-by-step how-to guide, which is what kind of assets you have and where. And then also how they can get hold of them. I think that's like the most important thing. So as like private key information, safe keys, duplicate it on physical paper and then give it to them for 2 safe spaces is a minimum of what I would personally say. Because this is a parent guide. Like I didn't want to freak them out, but I also know that you also want to make sure like if you're moving, there's a fire, like if there's a flood, that everything is durable and it's going to be okay. Do not send it on an email like, hi, Mum, here is my private keys and seed phrase. I think that's something so just be careful with that one. I think physical, paper, duplicated is a good route to go down as a starting point. We also went to Amsterdam and there was the Trezor event and they have these kind of, what are they called?
The Trezor 3? The Shamir backup?
The Shamir backup. And a few companies have them. And this is also kind of a nice way to ensure that if you are...
That's what I do,
Yeah, you do?
Yeah. So I can tell you about how I thought about this. So obviously, one of my the wallet I use the most often is the Trezor Model T, which is their slightly older model. It has this Shamir backup scheme. And they've also got this with the latest Trezor Model 3, actually. It's called Model 3, right? That's what we saw in Amsterdam. It's not on the market just yet, I think. You can pre-order it. We've got reviews and unboxings as well, which we'll leave in the description as well. But basically, the Shamir backup, which is available in this Trezor Model T, what it allows you to do is to generate multiple seed cards or seed words, right?
Yes.
That you could think of it as analogous to a multi-sig sign-in wallet in the sense that you could have a certain amount of threshold and number of seed words that you could utilize to regenerate or reset your device, right? Your Trezor device. And these can be stored in different locations, and the benefit of this is it builds redundancy into your system. So, for instance, if I was to die and my parents needed to pick up my Neo bags
and become a Neo Ninja,
Neo Ninja bags, then they could easily, with 2 of the seed cards, if my seed card was lost, they could still reset the device or buy a new Trezor device and regenerate it. Another thing, for instance, and they're also all kept in different locations. So one's at our house, the other's in my dad's office, and one I keep. So if there's a fire at the house, and then there's 2 other seed cards, I can still renew it and regenerate it. So you can do this with as many as you want. You can do a 3 or 5 or a 5 or 7 or any sort of configuration for as many people you need to give the keys to. And as long as you've got a threshold that you think is impossible for it to be all lost, then it's a good way to think about how you can store your keys safely and build in redundancy in your system. And obviously, yes, it's very important to give your parents the guides about how to generate this. And whatever you do, don't split your cards. So this is something that I've seen a few people talk about sometimes. It's basically they've got like a 12 seed word, and they'll split it in two, and then they'll give one collection of the seeds to one person and the other collection to another. And the problem with that is that, it's very easy if someone gets hold of the one set of seeds to be able to regenerate your wallet through, brute force. So yeah, I think that that's the method I use. It's got redundancy in my system. Model T device has got it, but the Model T device is quite expensive. The Model 3 is coming out soon. But yeah, I think it's more to the point. It's just like make sure that you've got a system in place for them. Don't send any sort of seed information on any sort of electronic devices. Yeah. Don't send it. Don't send emails. Don't store it on an electronic device. Written down seeds and keep them in a safe place. And make sure your parents know what it's, or your next of kin know what it's about and how to regenerate it, and have a plan in place. Because it's obviously the more people that die and lose their coins, the more that impacts on supply. So we're all going to have the more that impacts on supply, it's going to obviously lead to less Bitcoin in the markets, which is all good for everyone's bags, but it doesn't necessarily help your next of kin. So if you do die with your keys gone, yes, the market will, in the long term, be higher prices, but your family doesn't benefit and your next of kin doesn't benefit. So make sure you've got a system in place.
How did your parents go through that talk through where you were like, guys, this is where I'm leaving this is where I'm leaving this? Because my parents looked at me like, you're an idiot. This is not good. Why are we having to sit down and do this exercise? Did you have the same reaction? Yeah, I mean, they did. They were like, what the hell are these words you're giving me? Like, this is some random ass crap. And I was like, well, look, this Neo bag could be worth millions. No, I kid. I say, look, this has got a lot of crypto on it. I tell them the number, and I say, if I do my untimely demise, you guys want to be able to utilize it, and it's not as tragic. And I think that they know, obviously, now what the coins are worth, so they know it's valuable. They know I told them to store it in a safe, in a safe place. And also I use the steel cards, right? Okay. So that's also another thing you can consider doing, is if you're really worried about the case of the eventuality of a fire, you could utilize steel seed cards, which are fire and water and bomb proof. Yeah. Some of them. So James Bond, bulletproof as well, just in case someone shoots your little crypto tag. When all the TradFi institutions are coming to grab all our Bitcoin in the future, and they come into our parents' house. They're going to bomb the houses. You want to make sure that you've got your seeds safe. And there's a few companies out there that sell these seed words. So I think Trev's also got with their new devices as well. So, yeah, CryptoTag has it too. Have you heard of Dead Man Switch? I've heard of it, yes, yeah. Where it's like you can have someone as a secondary backup, and then you have to verify once every few weeks that you're still alive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool, but I think that's also a little bit risky, because if you've loss of internet connection, you're sick, you're unwell, you can't log in and check in to confirm. But that's also another way. So there is options for if you are looking to make sure you're securing. Or you're just trying to avoid the person who's trying to verify the dead man. So it's just I can't deal with this person right now. I don't want to talk to you guys now. Yeah. Okay, so next question we have is from Magical LCB, which is, do you think cooperating witnesses will serve any jail time like with SBF? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think that I've been listening to quite a bit of commentary around this, and I think it is quite likely they will get prison time, albeit very limited compared to what they would have got if they didn't cooperate, and what Sam is getting. So in the case of Gary, at least like Gary, Caroline, probably 2 to 5 years in a minimum security prison. As compared to, they were charged in a lot of the same, or committed to a lot of the same crimes that SBF did. So if they didn't, like I say, they would probably look at life in prison. So it made sense for them to testify. Obviously how these things are usually done is it's the prosecutor will write a letter to the judge handing down the sentence, and they will try and get leniency for them. And it's important for them to do that, I think, because obviously you want to encourage future cooperation. You don't want it to be too much of a slap on the wrist, because then people are still going to do crimes and think they can just cooperate, and then, I can just go and get off by ratting on someone. So they still have to do some time, but it will be very limited. They themselves, Nishad and I think Gary, have said they would ideally wouldn't want to get prison time, but I think that given this big determining factor here is the amount of
dollars that was involved in the fraud. That
Yeah.
was probably one of the biggest ever. So that will be a massive impact on the time they will serve. Then there's also the questions around previous cases. I mean, you could look at examples of previous fraud cases. There was Andy Fastow, who was the CFO at Enron.
Yeah.
He ratted on the CEO and the founder, and he only got 4 years compared to Jeffrey Skinner, who was a CEO, got 25 years. Got mob bosses as well they've done these deals with. So I think that they will get some prison time, although very limited. It's a difficult one to needle to thread because, like I say, they want to disincentivize crime, but they also want to not disincentivize cooperation.
Yes. And I think it's very cheeky as well. So Tiffany Fong has obviously been commentating on this daily, and she was saying that Gary Wong answered the ideal outcome for him would have been, from cooperating, would be no jail time. And apparently the whole court laughed. It's like, of course, that is what you would say. Yeah.
Really?
So everyone's like, what would your ideal outcome? And he was like, oh, no jail time. Of course you're going to say no jail time.
Man.
But it's not the kind of scenario where people can get off without any jail sentencing and then slowly pay back the fees, because this is billions of dollars of investor funds. So we'll see. Okay, so will you be reviewing any tokens again during the next bull market? And this is an account with a lot of numbers as their username, so I'm not going to read that out.
It's totally not my alt account.
Nick's like,
No, it is not my alt account. But it's an interesting question. I think that definitely we will be, as we always are. There's a few potential big layer one projects we want to review in the next 3 to 4 weeks. But I think that if you don't know already, we've obviously got one place where you'll get a lot of altcoin reviews, and not just large cap altcoins, but the small, even mid to small cap altcoins. And that's, of course, the Coin Bureau Club. It's our subscription model where we have a lot of these coin reviews. When we've done at least 12 right now. We do a one coin guide. There's a one weekly coin review. And also the subscribers are able to vote on which kind of coins they want covered. So you can suggest and vote on the coins you want covered, and we'll do it whichever one wins. Fully disclosed, and there's another new feature that's just been rolled out a week ago, which is the portfolio feature. So all of our team Coin Bureau portfolios are there, so you can kind of see everything we hold, and including Jessica, me, a few other researchers.
See what's going on, see what everyone... I actually haven't stalked out everyone else's portavio yet. That's probably something I'll do after this.
That's where you're going to get in the inside scoops. I haven't put my Neo bags there, but they're worth nothing anyway. So
they don't make the cut. Same as my Digitoes. But actually, I was so glad when you guys launched this, because I remember years ago watching the altcoin reviews that Guy used to put out, and it's great to see they're coming back, and they're really, really insightful. They're kind of really deep dives, long. Absolutely.
These are for crypto natives. Remember our old reviews, like deep dives, looking into the tech team, technology, the future token, tokenomics, and the potential for price appreciation, all these things, and it's an opportunity to give it to these guys in a unique way, and also in a way that doesn't look like we potentially using our reach to shill bags of any description, right? It's like you'll fully see our portfolio, it's fully disclosed, you'll be able to vote on them, and you'll be able to watch the reviews. And there's a few other things we've launched, a few other features and functionality. We've got exclusive unique deals and stuff, which we give you discounts and subscriptions to data providers, things like that. And we've also, just today or in the next few days, we're going to be launching a Coin Bureau Discord server for the club members to share insights and to get unique access to Guide. There's also a research feed. So that's the Coin Bureau Club. We'll leave links to it below as well, so you can take a look there. But the short answer is yes, we'll definitely be reviewing altcoins in this bull market, and hopefully another big one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But if you want weekly reviews that you can vote on and be part of the community, then the Coin Bureau Club's where you got to go. This is the final question. It's been a long one, so but this is actually a very thoughtful question. And it's from Matt Wayhay again, and he asks, the year is 2029. Satoshi has stepped into the light. What's the first thing he, she, they says? Probably uses pronouns, right?
This is a good one. 2029 is specific as well. Okay, cool. So If it's the very first thing, actually, you go first. I want to hear yours.
Wen Moon.
Wen Moon.
I actually have a different slant to this question. I'll ask you this.
Okay.
So hypothetically, in 2029, Bitcoin's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
But most of the Bitcoin is controlled by BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. In order to be able to buy Bitcoin, you need to fully KYC with these large traditional financial institutions, and you can't really send your own Bitcoin. It's hard to self-custody because they make it very hard for you to self-custody. They've integrated with the fiat CBDC system, and you're not able to easily offload your Bitcoin. Bitcoin has become such a fundamental centralized point of finance that all banks hold it, and it's trillions and trillions of dollar market caps, and it is used for global trade, but it is very central. It's being co-opted and it's controlled by CeFi.
Yeah.
Now the question is, what do you think? How do you think Satoshi would do that?
Yeah. Okay. So I've gone down a similar thought process of you, that I think there is some, along the journey, it has got tarnished a little bit by large acquisitions of Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is a really good example. And you have to reference the June 2010 email that he sent out, which is if you don't believe it or don't get it, I don't have the time to convince you, sorry. And I think there are some still really good pro-Bitcoin examples. So just today we saw Jack Mallers' Strike has launched Buy Bitcoin globally, which is on a debit card, now live in 36 countries using the Bitcoin Lightning Network. And these are the kind of pro-Bitcoin news narratives that we see once in a while, not so often, but when we do see them, we're like, okay, cool, this is adoption happening the right kind of way. But are we using Bitcoin as much as Satoshi has envisioned? I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I think that I'm conflicted because, obviously, Bitcoin's going to be, we all, cheerleading this TradFi takeover, or TradFi institutions getting involved with Bitcoin and ETF and all this kind of stuff. But if Bitcoin does become centrally controlled, and if Bitcoin is hard to transact with, and if Bitcoin it's just basically becoming another version of a traditional financial system that Satoshi himself wanted to develop Bitcoin specifically to avoid. I mean, we're just the same banks that caused the great financial crisis that's, spurned, Bitcoin, are now going to have to realize that basically we've now facing these same financial institutions that control the Bitcoin, and he'd basically think to himself, what on earth happened? Where did we go wrong? So it's a very conflicting thought. So I think it's everyone wants to see prices go up, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And it's a deep philosophical question, and I think that's probably the best one to end.
There's some kick-ass narratives, though, that I think would make him very proud. And I also kind of had a joke answer, which is the first thing he would say is why do so many of the crypto YouTubers have their mouths open in every single thumbnail?
Yeah.
To which I also don't know the answer.
If he goes on YouTube and he goes and searches Bitcoin on YouTube, Satoshi will basically, I'm never going to turn on YouTube again. Forget Bitcoin. I don't want to know about it.
Why do these men have veins protruding from their forehead with their mouths open?
Yeah, same thing on crypto Twitter. But hopefully, I think that there's still enough crypto natives out there, and that's important to keep people to keep on pushing forward the narrative about why Bitcoin is important, why crypto is important, why people want to hold their own private keys, why it was developed and its underlying technology. Because if people can at least appreciate it, yes, traditional financial institutions will try and co-opt it and take control of it in some way. But as long as enough people realize that that is to be avoided, and as long as they take control of their own destiny through holding their own private keys, self-custodying their coins, then we can avoid that unfortunate scenario where we are all slaves to a centralized Bitcoin held by BlackRock and Goldman.
That's such a dark... But on a distribution side of things, as a idea and concept that had no marketing budget, to look at where we are today, we have a Bitcoin flag on our wall behind us. We've got a Bitcoin pillow here. We're all in crypto. We've been in crypto for a few years. The distribution and the passion that people have in this space, you know, you have to be proud that your legacy has lived on.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to end it on an upper. I couldn't end it on your downer note. That would have just...
Well, I mean, as long as we're educated about it and we try to avoid it, whereas everyone's just, buying their Bitcoin from in an ETF and not holding it, then, they're going to, that's not the system we want. So yeah, education is important, and that's the goal we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you are. If you like the video, smash the like button.
Smash it. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, next week we're going to have, we want to see at least 50% more, I think, that in terms of questions. So we'll link to the Coin Bureau Instagram down below. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back with you next week. So see you then. Cheers.
See you.